Okay, guys, this is going to be the first of several videos I'm going to make that are going to talk about the skills of summaries and paraphrases and direct quotations from source material in your essays. So for each of the essays in this class, you're going to be referring to some kind of source, whether it's an article that you're reading, or two articles that you're reading, or an article on the film that you're reading and watching, or whatever. And basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out the best ways of bringing the ideas that are in that source, that article or that film or that book or whatever, into your own paper. And these are what these skills right here, summary and paraphrasing and direct quotations. This is pretty much how we do it. And there's like a process behind it that each video is going to talk about. The reason why I want you to do this now is because I want you to understand that this is a big part of college writing in general. You are very rarely ever going to be asked to just write from your own position and your own position only. Okay, that's not really a part of college writing. If you think about how college is that what you're constantly being exposed to is other ideas. Those ideas could be written like an article, or they could be like in a film or whatever. But when you're asked to write about something that you've learned, you're almost inevitably going to be asked to include a source that you learned from, some kind of article that you read. And so, how do we incorporate that article's ideas into your paper is really what we want to focus on. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is summary. And the way to describe summary is it's a way to condense in your own words the purpose of a resource and that resource's value. And the key word here is condense. Because what a summary does is it explains what a resource wants to say by highlighting the main points. Okay, and so you want to just simply talk about the main points of a source while not going into detail about all the specific examples or the supporting points of that source. You're condensing it. So if you think about an article, for example, an article could be long. It could be 500, 1,000, 1,500 words. Your summary is going to be quite a bit shorter because all you're doing is highlighting the main points. You are not going through every single example about what that source is talking about. You're just simply highlighting the main points. And I don't think summary is anything new to you guys. I mean, I'm sure that you guys have certainly seen this word before, and I think for the most part, you generally understand what it means. But I want you to think about why this is actually important. Because what it allows you to do is engage with the source that your reader may not have read or experienced before. And this is something I really want you to think about because this goes back to that idea of the rhetorical situation. Like you are the author, like, right? And there's an audience out there that you're trying to communicate with. And what you want to think about is what that audience needs out of you to make complete sense of what you're trying to write. And sometimes what we do is we assume that our audience understands everything that we're putting in there, including like references to articles that we've read. And that could be kind of dangerous because you can't always assume that your audience has read everything that you have. And so this is what summary can do for you, is that it allows you to set up for your reader's benefit what a source is about before you dive into like a deeper analysis of ideas or something like that. So think about this. You can tell your reader, here's what the source is generally about, and you can summarize it. You can summarize the main ideas. You can summarize the thesis that that article has. Now let's dive in deeper. So you can think of a summary almost like a diving board, that before you can get into the pool of deeper ideas, you have to start off on the diving board. And what the summary allows your readers to do is feel more comfortable with, okay, I understand generally what the source is about, and so that when you as the writer segue into a deeper like analysis of ideas or whatever you're going to do, your reader feels like they're prepared to better understand you. So you want to think of yourself as like a guide for your reader, that like you're like a tour guide and your audience is just following you. And if you don't explain for them every step of the way what's going on, what you're referring to, they're probably going to get a little confused. So that's one of the major values of summary is for you to start off right when you reference a source by saying, here's what it's generally about, and it gives your audience a nice basis to start from. And then from there, you can kind of segue into into like again the more specific ideas of that source. So here's an example of this. This is a small passage from a book written by James Lester called Writing Research Papers from 1976. It's been a while. And so here's what it says. It says students frequently overuse direct quotations in taking notes, and as a result, they overuse quotations in the final research paper. Probably only about 10% of your final manuscript should appear as directly quoted matter. Therefore, you should strive to limit the amount of exact transcribing of source materials while taking notes. So it's a small passage, it's not anything long, but what you're trying to do is obviously summarize, the basic idea of this particular passage. And I think that this right here is pretty decent. Students should take just a few notes and direct quotations from sources to help minimize the amount of quoted material in a research paper. Okay, so if you look at the original, you'll see that it's 3 sentences. This passage is 3 sentences long. What we've done is we've condensed it into one sentence that just simply talks about this idea of how we need to take fewer notes and direct quotations to help minimize the amount of quoted material in a research paper. Now, ideally, you're probably never going to summarize something this short. Normally, summaries are for more complete things like a chapter or an article or something like that. But again, this is just a way of showing you how you take something that's a little bit longer and condense it by just merely focusing on the main idea into like a summary. What I also want you to see here is we have a parenthetical citation here because that's something we do have to consider when we summarize. That if we're summarizing something specific like this, something that's taken from a specific location in this book, for example, on pages 46 and 47, we want to make sure that we cite it because we want our readers to still keep track that even though this is a summary, this is still the summary of somebody's ideas located in a specific place. So this is an example of a summary. Again, I don't think you guys have a lot of issues with summaries, but I just want you to understand that they are important even now. Because if I were to say it one more time, what a summary allows you to do is introduce a source to your reader. I mean, this is really an important thing that you want to consider. You don't want to assume that your audience has read these things. You want to basically assume that they haven't. And so what you want to do is set it up so that they actually understand the source before you actually get into something deeper about it.